Hello, thanks for joining me on my blog. I just wanted to tell you a few little bits and bobs about a project that I'm working on at the moment, which is called the imapiece project. And what it's about is making these jigsaw pieces, if I can get them the right way up. This one says, "Be the change you wish to see in the world," and that's the absolute favourite thing that Sarah Corbett of the Craftivist Collective says, and it's one of those messages that makes you think, okay, I have to have a little think about that and what it means, and that's kind of what this project's about. It's about quite deep thinking, and it's about doing something small that can have a big effect. So I've made so far, well, I've made 4, but I'm not happy with the other one, so I'm not going to show it to you. Of these jigsaw pieces, and we're hoping that lots of you will make these jigsaw pieces with us, and we're hoping to put them all together in a really big space and make a really big impact that people might want to take photographs of and might want to write about in the press. And the pieces will be symbolic of a really big issue, and they'll be symbolic of the way that people feel about this really big issue. The issue being hunger and malnutrition. So together with Save the Children, who are supporting this project, we're going to try and raise awareness about the fact that malnutrition is a political problem, and it's going to take politicians to solve the problem. Obviously, aid people like Save the Children, they need money, but this particular campaign is not about raising money. It's about raising awareness of an issue, and it's about trying to ensure that David Cameron keeps his promise to increase overseas aid. And it's only a very small increase that he's promised, but that increase will mean an enormous big deal to the people that it could potentially help. And we're not talking about handouts and food, we're talking about changing systems, and we're talking about putting in place systems that will mean that people can work their own way out of poverty, and possibly actually eradicate the need for aid in the future. So that's good for our economy. Just to sort of briefly explain about how malnutrition affects people. So it would affect your children in the same way too if they didn't have enough food. So it's children from all over the world, in particular Asia and sub-Saharan Africa, that are affected. They don't have enough of the right food, so they're not all of them. They're eating a lot of the same food, and they're not getting enough vitamins and nutrients in their diet. That kind of 5-a-day thing that's drummed into us every day, that we all try and do. This actually is where people are just eating a diet of rice or grain, and that's all they can afford. So what happens is that their children don't grow properly. Their hearts aren't big enough, so they're weaker human being. They're not able to survive diseases. Their brains don't grow big enough, so they're not intelligent. Then they don't do well at school as a result of it, and they probably leave school earlier than they should do. They don't become achievers. They don't go out and help their communities to become great communities, great countries. They don't become politicians and leaders and teachers and doctors. They're just not capable of it because they've been malnourished as children. And this is a real problem that's really affecting a lot of generations of children. And so what we're suggesting is that with David Cameron at sort of helm of this G8 conference, which is happening next year, where he's bringing together all the world leaders, as they do every year, if they can really kind of hammer out a way of addressing these sort of horrible issues of there being no way to level out food prices, which are happening, and that when the food prices go up, it affects us. Our price of our bread goes up, price of our meat goes up, because cows eat grain and so on and so forth. So it definitely affects us. It affects our economy, but it also doesn't affect our economy in quite the same way as it affects a family who live in Asia, in Bangladesh or wherever, where you know, a rise in grain to them could mean the difference between their child living or dying. And that's why this campaign is really important, because the statistics show that 300 children every single hour of every single day die because of a preventable hunger-related cause. So by addressing malnutrition, by addressing food security and the sort of making sure that the way that the systems involved, so the linking up of farmers to markets, you know, making sure people can work themselves out of poverty, and also making sure that they're in much more stable working conditions, because obviously there's all sorts of issues like climate change and so on that are affecting us, and we've all got to deal with that as we're going along. But we should really, I think we should be looking after the really vulnerable members of our society, our kind of world society, by thinking about political solutions to problems, and not just spending money on the wrong things. And I think that if people, you know, if our world leaders can't get together and sort it out, you know, it's a bit of a mess. So we're hoping that they will keep hunger as top of the agenda, which it currently, I believe, is going to be, and also that all the world leaders are kind of pushed by David Cameron to keep their promises as well, which I think they made back in 1970, to increase aid to this 0.7% figure, which is seen to be a really important figure. 0.7% of gross domestic product, so that all the money that a country makes, they're saying if you could just put 0.7% of that aside, put it aside and give that as overseas international aid, that will start to alleviate much of the problems, because that money will enable these kind of big issues to be addressed, and proper infrastructure to be put in place, and proper systems to be set up, and also, you know, looking at ways that they can make private investment easier, and all sorts of really complicated stuff that I don't know enough about. What I do know is that they should be talking about it, because it's a political problem and it needs a political solution. So enough of the politics talk so far, but back to these jigsaw pieces. This is how we can help. We can make a jigsaw piece, we can send it off to Craftivist Collective, who'll put it all together and get the attention that we need for this issue, and really make the press, the politicians, and all the people that can actually be the big changers, movers and shakers actually do something about it, because craft is really captivating, it's really trendy at the moment, and it's the kind of thing that people like seeing on the front of their newspapers. Beautiful pictures, beautifully stitched jigsaw pieces. I'm sure they will. So I'm hoping that you'll all be interested in getting involved and really helping to raise the awareness. I've got links in the blog post below, so if you could have a read through of those, click and go and find out all the kind of really finer details of what we're asking you to do. It's not about money, it's not about putting your hand in your pocket at all, it's about getting your crafty stuff out and getting a needle and thread maybe, and making something that I think you'll actually really enjoy making. I've genuinely been quite excited about the pieces I've made, and I'm now kind of being perfectionist about it, and you know, I want to make sure that I don't have really scruffy backs, and I want to make sure that I remember next time to put the interfacing in so that I can make them stiff enough to send. And it's not about being an amazing stitcher, it's about taking that time to have a think about the issues whilst you're stitching and making something, or you can also decorate it with fabric paint, but whilst you're making those jigsaw pieces, just have a think, you know, about what else perhaps that you could do, the way that little changes in our lifestyle can affect people that live very far away from us and very close to us, and how we can just try and without sounding too cheesy, just make the world into a more just place, you know, a fairer place to live for all of us, because nobody out there was born to die before they're 5 years old, and I think it's important that we just think about it. Thanks a lot for reading. I'm going to go off and collect myself now. Thank you. Bye.